GPS, look, I know that we've had our differences over the years, but look, I brought you some candy.
Cool, thanks. Wait, why are you doing this? Oh no, don't tell me you're going to.
I swear, this is the last time.
No.
Come on, Six Flags America is closing forever. Just one more time. You owe me. Remember, last time you blew me up.
This car will self-destruct in 3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah, I really did.
Yeah, you did. So, come on. One more time. GPS, take me to Six Flags America.
Okay, let's do this. One last time.
Six Flags America is gone. Last night, it closed its doors for the last time, and its future is uncertain. Will it be sold to another park operator? Maybe. Will it be sold to a land developer? Probably. So, ever since Six Flags announced this park's closure earlier this year, we've all been preparing for the worst. Today, let's take a look back at the 52-year history of Six Flags America and how it ended up where it is today. Six Flags America started as a vision from two brothers, Frank and William Stevenson of Ireland, both being animal trainers who worked for the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, and had operated a drive-through animal park in Northern Ireland for 3 years. They wanted to bring the same thing to Bowie, Maryland, finding 280 acres in town, wanting to fill it with 450 African animals, and to fund the project. In 1971, they teamed up with 41-year-old Texas billionaire Ross Perot. Together, they formed CT Industries. Perot said, "I didn't even know them until they walked into my office with their idea. When I got started in 1962, I had to go around and look for support too. I'm convinced they have the ability to do this well. I'm just the guy standing there with a grease gun. I can lubricate their idea with financial encouragement." The Stevenson brothers had a detailed vision of this 280-acre park, the 450 African animals roaming freely, park guests driving along a 4-mile road, having to stay inside their cars, everything enclosed by a 14-foot fence, keeping elephants away from the cars by using a dry moat. It would be open from April through November, and they were hoping for 1,000 cars per day. The park was announced to the public in February 1972, hoping to open later that year, but that was a bit too ambitious. The Stevenson brothers got the ball rolling, but by 1973, Perot and the brothers were bought out, and the project was taken over by ABC and their Scenic and Wildlife Attractions division, appointing former CT Industries Vice President William H. Natter Jr. as general manager of the new park, expanding the land by 125 acres, and finally getting the wildlife preserve open to the public in July 1974. It would cost $350 for adults, $250 for kids. The road would cover 2.5 miles, and there would be an entertainment center having a bird of prey show and exotic bird demonstrations. The park would employ 250 people, and they were hoping for 850,000 guests per year. However, this was not going well. By the end of 1975, ABC was looking to make major changes. As marketing official Michael R. Donahue said, the park was not financially viable based on its performance in the first year and a half. Wild animal parks are no longer in vogue. We got in at the peak of their popularity, but it was also the beginning of the downhill slide. We offered an educational experience and found out that guests wanted to be entertained and excited instead. This led ABC to seek a rezoning request for the land and turn it into a $30 million amusement park. The county approved it in late 1975. This park, hoping to draw in 14,000 people every day, generate $1 million in taxes for the county, employ 2,000 people, and get the park open by 1978. This plan would be scrapped a few months later, and the wildlife preserve would be closed by the middle of October 1975. The wildlife preserve cost ABC $4 million in 1975, and they were seeking to sell the land. That land that was just rezoned to be a theme park. ABC spent 1976 selling off all the animals, but couldn't sell the land until 1978. It was bought by Jim Fowler, the host of TV's Wild Kingdom, and they were hoping to turn the park into a zoo for the 1979 season, bringing in 521 animals, having a guided train through a safari, hosting animal shows, playgrounds for kids, a petting zoo. And as one attorney for Jim Fowler's group said, "We don't want to build another Disneyland. We're going to open basically what was there, only we will do a better job by making it more natural and imaginative." This idea would never get off the ground, running into financial issues, unable to meet their 1979 opening goal, and remaining closed in 1980 as well. And Fowler's group would go on to sell the land in the summer of 1980 finding a group of businessmen who would buy the land, invest an additional $11 million into the property, and 2 years later, in June 1982, Wild World was open to the public. This would keep the drive-through animal safari, but as ABC had learned 7 years prior, people wanted to be entertained and excited, and this park would include amusement rides and water slides. Admission would be $9.50 per person, helping the park expand further for its second season in 1983, adding 3 more rides, and turning the water slide area into a full water park, including a $2 million wave pool, which unfortunately resulted in a 9-year-old boy drowning in its opening year. This was just one of many issues Wild World had in its opening years. The park not able to turn a profit, closing down the safari in 1983, selling the animals by the end of the year, removing most of the bigger rides out of the park by 1984, and trying to transform into just a water park. Management had a change of heart going into 1985, bringing the rides out of storage, and committing to being an amusement park, wanting to build their first coaster, having their eyes on something big and wooden. That year, they saw Knoebels acquire and rebuild Rocket from Playland Park in Texas. That relocation project led by Charles Dinn and the Dinn Corporation, and they found their own opportunity when Massachusetts Paragon Park closed at the end of 1984. They also had an old PTC wooden coaster called Giant Coaster, opening in 1917, and they were able to hire Charles Dinn to relocate that down the eastern seaboard to Bowie, Maryland, rebranding it as Wild One, restoring the coaster's original finale that had burned down in 1963, featuring 4,000 feet of track in total, and Wild World had its first coaster ready for the 1986 season. Wild One would springboard the park's expansion through the 1980s, seeing water park expansions, new flat rides, a log flume, but by 1991, the park was having issues with upkeep. A lot of the portable rides were beyond repair and had to be removed, and the park was put up for sale. In 1992, they found a buyer in the Tierco Group based in Oklahoma City, already in possession of Frontier City and looking to expand. They renamed the park Adventure World and added a few rides right off the bat, and by the end of 1992, they saw a big opportunity for both of their parks. Six Flags Great Adventure was closing their Lightning Loops coasters, a pair of Aero Shuttle loops that interlock in the middle, and Tierco bought both of them, sending one to Frontier City as Diamondback and one to Adventure World as Python. This was the headliner of a $15 million investment over the first 2 years, doubling the number of rides, now totaling over 30, and attendance shot up 40% from 1992 to 1993, making for about 500,000 guests. Adventure World was in direct competition with Busch Gardens Williamsburg and Kings Dominion in the region, and those parks were drawing 2 million guests a year, but Adventure World did have some advantages. It was closer to Baltimore and Washington than those 2 Virginia parks, and it was cheaper. A ticket was $19.99 for a day, and Kings Dominion was $26.95. Dennis Spiegel said the park had moved from a mom-and-pop operation to a major park, although Tom Powell of Amusement Business said it had to stay in its niche as a smaller, cheaper option, having to undercut Kings Dominion or else it wouldn't be successful. Still, Adventure World was on its way up, being crowned the country's most improved park by Inside Track magazine in 1992, 1993, and 1994. It was at this time the Tierco Group rebranded as Premier Parks, and they went on a tear of expansion, not only buying up a bunch of parks all over the country, like Darien Lake, Great Escape, Elitch Gardens, Fiesta Texas, Riverside Park, Kentucky Kingdom, Marine World, Geauga Lake, and Reno Adventura, but they would be growing these parks at a rapid pace, Adventure World being a big beneficiary. This would start in 1995 with Mind Eraser, a Vekoma suspended looping coaster, the park's first coaster with an inversion, followed up in 1996 by Tower of Doom, the Intamin Drop Tower. Then, in 1997, they got Typhoon Sea Coaster, a log flume for kids, and the water park was expanded and improved. 1998 would see the debut of the park's second wooden coaster, the GCI Twister called Roar. But Roar wasn't the biggest news in 1998. In April of that year, Premier Parks reeled in their biggest fish, buying the Six Flags chain from Time Warner and all 7 parks in their portfolio. This would cause a massive rebranding of all the Premier Parks properties, adding the Six Flags name to all of them, and Adventure World would now be known as Six Flags America as of the 1999 season. This would come with yet another new coaster. No, I'm sorry, 3 new coasters. Joker's Jinx, a Premier Rides launched looper, Two-Face the Flip Side, a Vekoma inverted boomerang, and Great Chase, a coaster for kids, replacing their existing one, called Great Alonzo's Cannonball Coaster. Great Alonzo wasn't the only casualty of the 1998 season. Python, the coaster that helped get the park off the ground in 1993, was retired after 6 seasons. It's well documented that the entire theme park industry went crazy at the turn of the 21st century, and Six Flags America was the poster boy of this insanity. Coming off 3 new coasters in 1999, they added their biggest one yet in 2000, Superman Ride of Steel, an intimate mega coaster, mirroring the same one the chain put into Darien Lake the year prior, and they followed this up with a new type of coaster, the Vekoma Flying Dutchman, Batwing taking its place right next to Superman in the back of the park. A new sky coaster joined the mix in 2001, more flat rides arrived in 2002, and they got Blizzard River in 2003. The park had exploded under Tierco and Premier Parks and Six Flags ownership, going from 1 coaster at the time of acquisition in 1992. Fast forward 10 years later, and they had installed 9 more, 8 of them in operation by the time the cracks started showing in the Six Flags model. By 2004, it was clear the chain had overextended itself, adding over 40 new coasters in the span of 1999 to 2000, having expanded into Europe, now having to get out as all the spending caught up with them. They would also sell a bunch of their smaller parks at the beginning of 2007, Darien Lake, Frontier City, Elitch Gardens, but Six Flags America was spared, although the investments would dry up. Six Flags slowed down a lot after the red flags started going up in 2004, but their big parks were still getting new coasters. King Ka and El Toro at Great Adventure, Tatsu at Magic Mountain, Goliath at Over Georgia, the Pandemonium coasters at New England, Over Texas, Fiesta Texas, St. Louis. But leading up to the chain's bankruptcy in 2009, Six Flags America was largely shut out. The newly renamed water park Hurricane Harbor getting all the attention, and losing their Vekoma inverted boomerang in 2007 to face the flip side. Once Six Flags came out of bankruptcy in 2010, things actually improved a bit for Six Flags America. It started with Thomastown, a 3.5-acre family area themed to Thomas the Tank Engine, the biggest expansion the park had seen in 10 years. But once Six Flags lost the Thomas branding, it would be renamed Whistle Stop Park. Plans were also set in motion for Six Flags America to get their first coaster in over 10 years, relocating the B&M stand-up Iron Wolf from Six Flags Great America, closing down after 22 seasons in 2011, arriving at Six Flags America in 2012, and being rethemed as Apocalypse. They would go back to the Great America well one more time in 2014, adopting that park's Reverchon spinning mouse coaster, Ragin' Cajun. This would replace Two-Face, part of the new Mardi Gras section that also included flying scooters called French Quarter Flyers, and Tower of Doom was renamed Voodoo Drop. In the mid-2010s, Six Flags adopted a concept of adding something new in all their parks every year, and following Mardi Gras, that produced Bourbon Street Fireball, a Larson Superloop, additions to Hurricane Harbor, Wonder Woman Lasso of Truth, a Funtime Starflyer, and for the 2019 season, an overhaul of Apocalypse, converting it from a stand-up coaster to a floorless, getting a repaint and retheme to Firebird. Later that year, they announced a Zamperla giant discovery called Harley Quinn Spinsanity for 2020, but with the COVID-19 pandemic delaying the park's season debut till July 3rd, that project was pushed to 2021. There's no doubt the pandemic and the closures across the chain damaged Six Flags, and that was already having financial problems. And now, the status quo would no longer be an acceptable option. Late in 2023, Six Flags and Cedar Fair made a blockbuster announcement, the 2 major regional theme park chains in America becoming one, the Six Flags Entertainment Corporation. This was finalized in the summer of 2024, the same time Six Flags America welcomed a brand new section of the park, Steamtown, giving the old Coyote Creek area a steampunk facelift, including a new Zamperla Nebula Z called Steamwhirler, also a renovation of Mind Eraser, now known as Professor Screamore Skywinder. This was a promising sign for the park, but a major earth-shaking merger was bound to result in major earth-shaking moves, and on May 1st, 2025, the chain announced Six Flags America would close following the 2025 season. After the 2 chains merged, that combined portfolio would include over 40 properties, 26 of them being amusement parks, and with their more than $5 billion of combined debt, a lot of people expected them to pare down that portfolio, sell off parks that weren't profitable, or that could give them a great return, and a lot of people were looking at their smaller properties as being in danger. With this in mind, their decision to close Six Flags America makes a lot of sense. First, the park sits on 523 acres in Prince George County. Only 131 of those are being used, and some of that land being protected from development anyway. The land is valuable, it's only being used 7 months out of the year, and a lot of the time, selling it benefits the company's bottom line more than keeping it open. CEO Richard Zimmerman pretty much spelled it out. After reviewing a number of options, we believe that marketing the property for redevelopment will generate the highest value and return on investment. In other words, Six Flags America is worth more to the company as a real estate property to flip than a park to keep operating. It comes down to the cold, hard reality of running a business, the sentimental value of the park, all the employees of that park, and what the park means to the local community have to take a back seat. Zimmerman addressed that also. This was a difficult decision, and we recognize the impact it'll have on our Six Flags America and Hurricane Harbor park associates and guests. We are grateful to our park associates who work hard to create lifelong memories for our guests, and Six Flags is committed to supporting all impacted associates through the closure process. Six Flags America and Hurricane Harbor have been an important part of the local community, and this final season will be an opportunity to celebrate the decades of fun the guests have enjoyed at this property. After the merger, Six Flags now controls Six Flags America and Kings Dominion, these parks competing for business all the way back to the mid-70s. Also, in the early 90s, then Adventure World tried to siphon off guests from Kings Dominion coming from Baltimore and DC by offering a cheaper experience. But now that they're all under the same umbrella, why not make a big profit off the 523 acres of land and put all your mid-Atlantic eggs in the Kings Dominion basket, consolidating your efforts to compete with Busch Gardens and Hershey Park. Kings Dominion threatened the existence of this park early on, and once they became part of the same company, turns out it was a big reason Six Flags America is getting the axe. The last time Six Flags closed the park down to sell the land and raise money to pay off debt was back in 2005. The Astroworld sale being a disaster for the company, getting half of what they expected. So I'm sure Six Flags will keep that in mind now that the park is closed and big decisions need to be made. So that's a wrap on this video and a wrap on Six Flags America. We'll keep an eye on the news to see if they can find a buyer and what that might mean for the land. GPS, it's been real.
Yeah, I guess.
Thanks for putting up with me for all those years, and again, sorry for all those trips to Six Flags America.
I still kinda hate you for making me go there so many times.
Yeah, I kinda hate you too.